felt a little bit like building a sandcastle at the edge of an incoming tide. You take your time, you shape it carefully, smoothing every edge, and just as you step back to admire it, a new wave comes in and wipes it clean. And that's the reality of technology today. These waves keep coming. They are coming faster, stronger. They are more unpredictable. And the work isn't just about building something beautiful for today. It's about understanding these tides, anticipating the shifts, and designing something sturdier than a sandcastle. Or better yet, something capable of moving with the waves. Now we have yet more waves crashing in. First it was generative AI, then it was agentic AI, or is agentic AI, and the next wave will be these multi-agent systems we're all hearing about. And this isn't the simple automation tools or predictive models that we've been layering onto our businesses for years. This wave is different because you're not facing a new tool, you're facing a new reality. This time, the technology isn't just analyzing data. It's not just suggesting the next steps. It's deciding, it's acting, it's pursuing goals. And it's putting powerful new capabilities into the hands of everyone across the organization. Not just the developers, not just the architects, but strategists, marketers, and customers. Major tech waves are the ones that put more power into the hands of a broader set of people. And here we are today in 2025 talking to computers in our own language. In 2015, Gartner predicted that machines would not only communicate with each other through machine consumable APIs, but also use conversational interfaces based on natural language as the technology matures. That was 10 years ago. Quick show of hands. How many of you cringe when someone asks for a show of hands? Okay, a few. That must have been difficult for you, so I appreciate it. But we're Gartner. We deal in real numbers. And 37% of leaders say AI hype is already starting to recede. And meanwhile, only 25% of leaders say that they are prepared and equipped to handle the next disruption without significant problems. Those numbers show just how disruptive this and the future waves are going to be. Because there's a difference here compared to previous tech waves. The real force behind it is not just technology, it's imagination. For the first time in history, anyone with an idea can build the future. And this is what makes this wave different. We are no longer just adopting AI, we are entering an AI native era. And sooner than we think, AI won't feel extraordinary anymore. It'll feel expected. It'll be foundational, just woven into the way we work, the way we plan, and the way we build. That's what an AI native era will look like. Here's a sharper question. When was the last time you challenged the roadmap or the level of imagination behind your roadmap? Are you building for what's possible or just for what's familiar? Because these waves keep coming in, and we need to be building ships, not sandcastles. In the AI native era, your foundations matter more than your features. And these foundations must be built on 3 pillars: modernization, culture, and adaptability. And if you can rethink all 3 of those, AI won't just work, it will work for you. So today we're going to dig into what that means, using real-world stories, some data, and some lessons learned from leaders who are already navigating these shifts. And to tackle it, I'm happy to introduce Patrick Connaughton, a VP analyst and Chief of Research in our Enterprise Applications practice, and Annie Hodgkins, Director Analyst and an expert in software engineering leadership. So please welcome them.
Thanks, Danny. let's talk more about what we mean by building ships, not sandcastles. Let's start by imagining a ship.
Like a luxury super yacht? The ones you see on TV owned by billionaires and tech moguls?
Exactly. I mean, look at that thing. It's sleek, it's futuristic, the technology on board is state-of-the-art. It's got a helicopter and a pool. And that's just the beginning. At the bottom level, you've got this engine room, this really cutting-edge modern core system. And this part of the ship is fundamental to making everything run smooth.
Think of your foundational application portfolio as your organization's engine room. It's not always exciting to work on, but no matter how advanced it is, it's still really difficult to modernize, modify, and swap out the parts after the ship is built.
On the level above that, you might have the crew's quarters, kitchen, medical. Think of this as the heart of your organization's culture.
And then we get to the deck of the ship and the bridge. This is where the action is. It's where things are constantly changing, and it's designed to be adaptable.
In the case of our super yacht here, you can bring in a helicopter, swap out jet skis, water slides, and different deck layouts depending on the activities of the day.
Okay, it looks really fun.
It does, I know. But sadly, I think it's a safe bet that most of the people in this room don't own or even work on anything that looks like a luxury yacht.
Most of you probably feel like you're working on something more like this.
A big, slow-moving, slow-turning cargo ship. What happened to our yacht, Annie?
It's gone.
It's gone.
And if the engine room represents your core foundational systems, the deck of this ship, with its tower of hundreds of shipping containers on top, those are all the applications you've piled up over the years.
Thousands of them, in some cases. And the more you add on, the less stable things get.
Your crew are now wearing tuxedos or serving caviar. They are battle-worn programmers, architects, aviators. They're eating cold fish chowder and stale bread.
They got this guy like me. Yuck, cold fish chowder. And the top deck?
There's no pools or water slides there.
I'm afraid not. But there is hope. The decks of these ships, despite their age, are still really adaptable depending on the job at hand. They're designed to be quickly retrofitted with different equipment like cranes and winches and safety equipment. I've actually worked on some very old ships with some very innovative setups on the top deck.
Right. A little about us. Well, I'm an avid skier and spend more of my time on the slopes. Patrick here is a licensed captain and spends his free time out on the water.
And being out at sea, there's a ton of variables you're constantly evaluating to keep everyone safe. The weather, the tides, other ships, the health of your crew. And things do go wrong because there's only so much you can control.
And Patrick, that's exactly why you won't find me out at sea. It's really for the best if I stay on land.
Okay.
But I get it, because you've trained for these moments. You understand the mechanics. You have the tools to guide the way. I imagine everyone on board, your captain, your crew, they have a designated role, and you trust in that.
Exactly. You actually get to a point where dealing with the unexpected becomes the norm. This is what it's like to navigate in an AI-native era. You need a ship, your organization, that can adapt to changing conditions, and a crew that doesn't avoid risk but has learned to navigate it.
We just need better foundations in this AI-native era. This means rethinking the way we modernize core systems. Because we know taking the same old approach, it just isn't working. So often I speak with organizations like yours who say that their modernization initiatives are stalled, that they can't find the ROI, that their business doesn't see the value.
And technology is only one part of the equation. Technology isn't just about the technology, it's about the people who use it. No matter how automated and advanced our solutions get, we still need humans in the loop. Aligning skills and culture to take advantage of AI requires a fresh approach.
This is a big deal, meaning fundamentally reimagining the future of work. Think about this. By 2030, Gartner predicts that half of organizations will face irreversible skills erosion due to reliance on AI. And I'm not referring to technical skills, I'm talking about the competencies and the soft skills that make your teams adaptable and collaborative. These skills are at risk for being undeveloped as AI increasingly handles basic communication and decision making. We have a new form of AI lock-in to watch out for, as leaders lose confidence in their teams and increasingly turn to AI.
If we're successful at rethinking how we approach modernization, we have the building blocks in place for adaptability, more adaptive design, more adaptive governance models. We've designed a ship,
not sandcastles.
This means we've got the ability to expand and attract and react to constantly changing conditions, to be more resilient when risk is high, whether it's geopolitical disruptions or just mounting cost pressure. We have to have an adaptable framework in place to succeed.
We've designed for adaptability, to explore what's possible, whatever business leaders can imagine, not just what's familiar.
Okay, I'm in. Where do we start?
Well, Gartner's research has found most companies set modernization goals to reduce costs and risks. You know, it's the standard stuff. Cleaning up tech debt, shooting off some expenses. But those projects are framed to improve what you have. Really, modernization should be about building for tomorrow.
Because the stakes now are higher. The inability to modernize should just mean more tech debt, higher maintenance costs, lower productivity. Now, it means you can't transform your business models or take advantage of AI. We field thousands of client calls every year, and one of the most common questions we get is how do you go about integrating AI into old application stacks? And when designing the platforms of the future, how do you ensure that they're compatible with these new AI tools? Let's drill into that.
Well, to start, one of the most important ingredients of AI and Gen AI success is to have AI-ready data. This is one of the biggest bottlenecks organizations face when it comes to taking advantage of AI.
Let me give you an example. American Express Global Business Travel thought about this differently. They didn't assume you can build AI-ready data just once and for all. It takes an ongoing, iterative process to evolve and govern their data. And they defined a 3-pillar Gen AI plan. First, they established guidelines for data security, system security, safe human interaction. Second, business leaders are constantly on the lookout for high-impact Gen AI use cases. But it's got regular oversight to make sure they're assessing risk and providing mitigation strategies. And third, this initiative included analytics and general awareness training to address any of the fears surrounding the use of AI.
Ensuring data readiness enabled them to provide a better customer experience to travelers. And it allowed their team members to get time back when they're responding to emails from their customers.
Like when your trips are delayed or your bags get lost.
Yeah, exactly. Investing in capabilities like capturing metadata, building knowledge graphs, and creating models to better ground, integrate, and customize Gen AI models, that's a great place to start.
And it's not too soon to start getting familiar with Model Context Protocol, MCP. This is a way of standardizing AI integration, and we desperately need that. And it's got backing from tech giants like Microsoft and OpenAI. But the jury's still out on how real this is going to be, but it's important that your teams keep an eye on it. The good news is that we have a breakout session on Thursday all about this for everyone to go attend.
Okay, coming back to modernization. We see a few common mistakes that work against you here. The first is just migrating 20-year-old, highly customized applications to the cloud as is without trying to refactor them. The second is just bolting Gen AI tools on top of that stack to improve the UX without making the data and the underlying solution AI ready. That's not modernization. That's just relocation. When you try to layer AI on top of them without architectural changes, you don't get transformation. You get the Frankenstack.
Frankenstack. I love it. I imagine this monster of mismatched parts, a bunch of legacy applications, some of them off of maintenance, unsupported. Then you add new tools into the mix, maybe better search, better analytics, automation, RPA, all held together by digital duct tape and sheer willpower. We've all been there. It's fragile and inflexible. It's hard to change, and it's easy to break.
We can't treat all modernization efforts the same. But don't assume just moving everything to the cloud is the answer. Sometimes, keeping what works and improving around it is faster and it's more effective than starting over.
I'll give you an example of that. So, keeping what works. I was speaking with a large financial services company the other day, and they were still using mainframes for processing massive amounts of sensitive data. And for those of you in financial services, you know it's not uncommon to still have mainframes in play. But their strategy wasn't to eliminate the mainframe by modernizing to a cloud architecture. Quite the opposite. This family was actually looking to infuse AI into their mainframe environment for real-time fraud detection, document processing, and ongoing development. This is what we mean when we say rethinking modernization. And for a lot of you, we hope this is a comforting thought, that you don't have to rip and replace everything to modernize. You can build on what you have.
Because the goal is to make smart, focused changes, not to rebuild everything at once. Cloud first is no longer a strategy, it's a default. And defaults are dangerous when you're trying to innovate. For example, don't always just let your vendor's next upgrade turn on the Gen AI assistant by default. Just like you're no longer going to automatically take the next patch from your security vendor without testing it.
Let's not do that. Before we move on from modernization, let's go back to how everyone in this room can rethink what that means. Here are some questions to ask yourselves and bring back to your teams.
First, are you exploring using Gen AI for just documenting old code? Or are you identifying the embedded business rules in legacy systems or testing changes? Is using Gen AI to rewrite code? It's still in its infancy, but for extracting business rules to carry forward into a new, modernized system, that's a lot closer to being real. And AI-assisted testing, it's already table stakes for a lot of organizations.
Second, have you asked your strategic application vendors what Gen AI tools they've developed for their own modernization? How much have they saved? And are they passing those savings on to you? I spoke with one large app vendor, and they created a whole Gen AI setup and configuration coach. And they shared that with all their SI partners. You should have access to those types of tools also.
And third, are you working with your IT sourcing team to get access to the vendor's AI tools without breaking the bank? Because most of you use only 20% of functionality from your enterprise off-the-shelf apps. But you pay 100% of the subscription or the license fee. It's time to renegotiate. And renegotiation doesn't just mean trying to reduce the overall subscription cost with these vendors. There's other ways to get more value. For example, if the vendor is trying to build up adoption of their AI tools, ask for those modules to be bundled into the renewal at no cost.
Bundled into the renewal at no cost. I've got a background in IT sourcing, and I can tell you that that's a perfectly reasonable ask. Especially if your SaaS subscription fee is going up automatically every year, you should be getting incremental value from that in the way of new AI features. Okay, that's rethinking modernization. Let's move on to skills and culture.
And this is a topic I'm really passionate about. So in the AI native era that we've been describing, AI really does become table stakes. And when it does, what's going to differentiate you? It's your people. It's hard to imagine a technology that's going to uplevel people as much as Gen AI is doing right now. But then there's the anxiety that AI is causing a lot of us. We can't deny that's a thing. Did you know that 62% of organizations believe that IT shouldn't be responsible for managing workforce anxiety around AI?
That's a really surprising number to me. The very people who are deploying and rolling out these tools aren't expected to manage the impact. It seems natural that IT would take the lead here.
The anxiety is real, and the responsibility to manage it is getting passed off. But AI native technology leaders aren't just implementing new features. They're managing fear. They're helping people prepare for how AI is going to impact their role. As otherwise, you can't embrace those tools, just like we saw before. Your biggest AI risk isn't the technology. It's your people not trusting it.
And one of the reasons why people don't trust it is because they read news from big tech CEOs saying things like, SaaS is dead, and AI agents are gonna take over the world. I mean, that's scary, and people don't understand what that means for their jobs. That's the gap we need to close.
This anxiety can shape your team's confidence and disrupt how they work and learn together. Humans actually experience a threat response. When they're faced with the anxiety of the unknown, it causes a fight or flight reaction. And that can shut down curiosity, creativity, and their willingness to try new things. There's a general skepticism about AI that we have to work through, especially if you're in a certain industry. Take the District of Columbia Child and Family Services Agency. Their primary goal is to improve the safety and well-being of children. So in this industry, there is reasonable fear that AI could perpetuate bias or inequality.
Not to mention, there's resistance to using it. I mean, for good reason. Caseworkers at this agency are overloaded with responsibilities and schedules. They just haven't had the time to learn new AI tools.
But they applied AI differently, with the goal of helping these caseworkers be more empathetic when they're dealing in these high-stress situations. So what they did was, they used AI to convert audio interviews between caseworkers and these families to transcriptions. And then the AI analyzes the language used on both sides to evaluate the effective use of empathy, and then provide direct feedback to those caseworkers. So it doesn't require this weeks-long classroom training. The recommendations are sent right to their inbox.
Right to their inbox. I don't know, I get a lot of emails every day right to my inbox, and it sounds like it might backfire.
Well, you know what? They were given a chance to opt into this. And afterwards, their quarterly participation rate rose by almost 2,000%. As some caseworkers said, their responses from AI actually motivated them to make improvements in these conversations. Their feedback was so positive because the agency focused not just on the value of the use case for citizens, but how it can be used as a tool that meets caseworkers where they are.
And this approach can work in a lot of different domains. It doesn't have to be government agencies. It could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be teaching, customer service, anything where empathy is needed. But giving access to these new tools, that's not enough to be a game changer. You have to eliminate what's getting in their way. Case in point, organizations that prepare employees for AI initiatives with training and support are more than 2 times more likely to handle the next disruption. Okay, how do we make this real? Where do we start? What do you say we just make everybody Gen AI prompt engineers, Annie?
No, take a deep breath.
Okay.
Let's be clear. Becoming AI literate, it doesn't mean every employee needs to be a Gen AI prompt engineer or a data scientist. AI literate means you're able to work with or unlock value from AI, not just around it. You can't think of AI literacy as this nice to have. I'll make that real. 77% of organizations are either piloting or deploying AI code assistants to their software engineering teams. And yet, engineering leaders rate these tools as a high risk, with talent shortage being the primary risk factor. Think about that for a moment. Talent shortage is the primary risk factor for AI adoption. We're now seeing that talent density, quality over quantity is required to properly adopt AI. You might not need more people, but you definitely need more highly skilled people. We're talking about these zero fear folks. They're the ones who have the confidence to manage whatever's coming next.
Zero fear. I love it. Okay, step one. This gets to how we avoid the skills erosion that we talked about earlier. Making sure everyone has a training curriculum that meets employees where they are. People need different types of support depending on where they want to go with AI and where they're coming from. Instead of building training programs saying everyone needs to become a prompt engineer, ask, what does this person need to know to make a meaningful business impact? What are their ambitions? And align training to match their trajectory.
Next, make AI part of your onboarding. This isn't just a technical challenge. It's that cultural reset, where every new hire should understand not just your products, but how AI plays a role in delivering them and generating business value.
And this sets the tone for your culture. Innovation is the norm here. It takes leaders that are willing to say, we are an AI native organization. And this doesn't necessarily mean we're using agents everywhere. It means we can. And it makes experimenting with new technology safe, because everyone understands where the guardrails are.
And this brings me to one of my personal favorites. Build psychological safety in your culture. Psychological safety is not just about being nice. That's a common misconception. It means you're able to surface and then challenge ideas without judgment or getting attacked. People won't take advantage of imagination if they're afraid to break things. As resistant to that as we tend to be. And I don't mean break things like your live system at 4:45 on a Friday, but I do mean exploring ideas without the fear that you get benched for trying.
If your culture penalizes small failures, it guarantees big failures down the line. Create leeway in your systems, time, tools, training, that lets people explore safely.
I talked to a director of software engineering just a few weeks ago who put it like this. You're no longer just using tools in this era. You're co-creating systems with AI. And the models might get smarter over time. Your people need to as well. So stop incentivizing learning as a means to an end. Learning is not a transaction. And many of us fall into the trap of promoting continuous learning to achieve these successful POCs or we participate to earn a promotion.
Start promoting learning as part of your identity. In the AI native era, the most valuable employees are the lifelong learners. Meaning, these are not the people that are wedded to specific technologies. They're open to exploring and experimenting. And to make this work, we have to highlight stories where experimentation has led to positive business outcomes, but maybe they were still viewed as a failure.
And if you take one thing away from this, about skills and culture, it's to meet people where they are. Design training that's specific to their ambitions and abilities, and don't be afraid to tackle the real issues of fear, uncertainty, and doubt head on. IT has to play a critical role in building psychological safety for your organization. So people need room to learn, grow, and collaborate to build these new skills.
Whew. We've covered a lot of ground here today. I mean, what was our last foundation? Let's bring that up for a minute. Right, the most important foundation. Design for adaptability.
When it comes to AI, the big drivers of adaptability have adapted over the last few years. In 2023, the top AI fear was misuse. Fraud, cybersecurity drove us to build new controls into the process. Then in 2024, it was hallucination. We were starting to use these tools more, but we couldn't always trust the results. So we put in checks and balances. As 2025 has taken shape, it's become clear. It has been all about finding the right balance of AI governance with delivering business solutions. If you don't have this balance, you won't be ready for the next technology waves. So make sure your systems and people are ready to adjust when your tools, goals, directions, budgets change. The key here is having an adaptive governance model that can work with you, not against you. In fact, 85% of leaders in enterprise apps, software engineering, and architecture, they say the wrong kind of governance can actually make things worse.
Let me drive that home. The wrong kind of governance can actually make things worse.
And this doesn't mean just throwing governance out entirely, but it does mean changing how we think about it.
Since we've been talking a little bit about the power of the ocean, let me give you an example of where rigid governance doesn't work. I live in a seaside town, and they've built all these massive concrete seawalls, like the ones you see on the screen. And they do provide protection for the houses, but there's a downside. The seawalls actually prevent the natural ebbing and flowing of water, in our case, imagination. And they cause massive erosion. There's actually no beach left anymore, just boulders. And when you get a storm, it picks the boulders up, damages the seawalls, and sometimes even the houses behind them. Talk about unexpected consequences.
A much better approach would have just been to raise the houses, or potentially move them back, not try to stop nature, or in this case, imagination, from doing its thing.
And the same is true when it comes to harnessing AI and trying to govern it. Rigid walls of governance don't work. We think of foundations as structures, solid, permanent, things we can control. But IT bears little resemblance to structures. Software is malleable in ways that structures aren't.
What does work then? What's the solution?
Okay, we call it the adaptive governance model. And it might sound complicated, but it's actually quite simple. The higher the complexity, risk, and business criticality of the task, the more governance you need. But for things that are less risky and less complex, there's a self-governed safe zone. Now, having an adaptive governance model has always been important, and it's something you can read about in our research. But what's different now?
It's the pace of everything that's changed. In the AI native era, the speed of innovation outpaces the speed of consensus. You can't afford to just react, even if it feels like there are infinite demands coming your way. As you see that, that's how many of you feel. The ship really wasn't designed to handle the pace of change that we're experiencing.
I see what you did there, Annie. Outpacing, pace of change. That's a perfect transition to our next topic.
This is what we call pace layering. And there's a breakout session on this framework if you're interested in really learning how to apply it to your day-to-day work. But the framework is based on the pace of change of the systems that you build, buy, or blend. You can use it as a tool to understand where your systems stand today. More importantly, can they adapt to support new priorities? Are they supporting the work that matters? Can they handle what's coming next? Or are they just holding you back? Some systems may turn out to be more of a roadblock or a seawall than a help. And one client actually joked with me that their platform was basically a vintage car. It's beloved, but it is constantly in the shop.
The pace of change, it's fast, just like Annie's vintage car. But not all capabilities need to be. Some systems benefit from speed, but others don't. If you treat everything like a mission critical, sort of waste and complexity will be way too high. And if you treat everything like an AI pilot, well, you'll just end up with chaos. It's really that top layer of innovation that's changing the fastest that we need to adjust for. Let's think about this another way. In the ocean, surface currents move fast. And they're impacted by wind, temperature, and everything around it, just like innovation. Deeper currents, they move more stable, and they're predictive, just like your foundational systems. The challenge comes in the transition zones, when currents and tides collide, where rapid changes clash with systems that can't keep up. And for IT leaders, that's where clarity matters most. Knowing where to move quickly, where to hold steady, and how to keep both working together.
And we know it's easy to get distracted. Too often we hear leaders declare, we need to do AI. And maybe it's because they heard their CIO talk to their friend and say, we need to do AI. And they came straight to you and they said,
We need to do AI.
But few can respond to that and say, look, here's the value, here's the risk, here's how we're going to govern it, here's where we're ready or not. And that's because, let's be honest, a lot of big projects these days, they're kicked off not based on clear business outcomes, but the fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out. AI FOMO. It's easy to get caught up in all the hype. And sometimes technology vendors do get a little ahead of themselves in the marketing department. So it really has to be a partnership to get this right.
Otherwise, you're layering novelty onto fragility.
Just to drive this point home on the importance of a partnership with your tech vendors, we asked orgs what their approach is to rolling out innovative technology. And it turns out that 60% of you are buying technology like this from standalone third-party vendors. 40% are actually relying on existing suite vendors. And 30% are building it themselves. And many of you are doing all three of these things. That's why it adds up to more than 100%. And then trying to take the combination of these things and marry them up to, new AI tools, old application landscapes. I mean, what does that remind you of, Annie?
That's the Frankenstein we talked about. And when it comes to these innovative solutions, we've seen a lot of direct investment by the business over the last few years, whether it was shadow IT or sanctioned spending. The result? It's been a ton of mounting tech debt. As we look to get this under control, we're seeing an interesting shift. The pendulum is swinging back to IT in a lot of cases to fund innovation.
The pendulum is swinging back to IT. That means everyone in this room has a job to do. Being the stewards of innovation, enabling the business to run faster, better, to be more creative or imaginative as they want to be, but with some adaptable controls in place so we don't introduce new risks.
That's a big job. And with everything we've talked about today, the pace of change, the rate of innovation, the turmoil in those transition zones. There's AI FOMO, AI anxiety, the hype, the cultural reset.
The cold fish chowder, the Frankenstein, the old rusty cargo ship.
How do organizations find room to breathe?
Okay, Annie mentioned that I'm a licensed captain, and I've got a story to tell as we start to wrap up here. So a few years ago, I was piloting my boat out of a local harbor, and the engines failed in the roughest waters, that transition zone, right where the waves were breaking. It's 4:30 in the morning, no other boats around. I raided the Coast Guard, 20 minutes away. The boat was being pushed towards the jetty rocks. I could see the jagged, rocky bottom. I put on my life vest, I took a deep breath, settled down, and I had a decision to make. Do I abandon ship? Do I risk it and hit the jetty wall? What if I just dropped anchor and stayed put? I took option number 3. In that moment of turmoil, with the waves crashing around me, it was that one decision that kept me off the rocks until help arrived. It saved my boat, maybe my life, and help did eventually arrive, and I'm standing here today. The sun came up, I got towed into safety, and maybe all of you aren't dealing with life or death decisions every day. But as you move through this chaos, these moments are tricky. And everyone, you, your CIO, your business leaders, they need a way to regroup and respond with focus.
Anchoring in the middle of roughest waters, it seems unintuitive at first. I probably would have just jumped ship. But you must sometimes make bold decisions stabilize the organization amidst volatile forces like AI, geopolitical shifts, and agents.
Anchoring provides a moment of stability, allowing the organization to assess the situation and plan a response. It also provides a strategic pause, kind of like being at this event for a few days, to prevent the organization from being swept up by disruptive forces. Speaking of disruptive forces, welcome back, Dan.
Somebody has to rock the boat here. Guys, we said earlier that imagination is this new force. We've talked a lot about it. I think everyone in this room has experienced this imagination at various points in your careers. For me, it first happened in 1993 when a friend gave me my first Slackware Linux distribution on 19 floppies, and you could just see the potential, all the things that were going to happen. And now we see it all around us. And suddenly everyone is having those same moments of imagination, ways to build, ways to innovate. And this should be exciting, but it's also very overwhelming. We have to be able to adapt, to govern, in order to accommodate, to direct this flood of imagination, which is hitting our shores.
Right, Danny? And benefiting from that adaptability, it takes more than a technical change. You need to invest in AI-native skills across your organization and establish that culture of psychological safety.
And the foundation of all of this isn't rethinking how you approach modernization. It's about optimizing your governance to balance the risks against the rewards at a pace of change that your applications can actually support. Because you're not just passengers on this ship.
You're the captains of what we do next.
And this conference is all about learning to be the most effective captains possible. We have a great week lined up to that end. We have sessions on these foundations. We have tons of content on emerging tech this year. We even have a process automation vendor bake-off or a showdown taking place on this stage. You know, we're really just a bunch of nerds here at Gartner. We love events because we get to talk to all of you about these trends. And just to showcase a bit of why, we have a quick video to close. Please roll the video.
Refactored those monolithic legacy systems into cloud-native microservice-based architecture. By adopting containerization technologies, maybe like Kubernetes, you can achieve seamless scalability. Does that make sense? Are you there?
It's Bible. It's my.
All right, listen up.
It is Bible.
You would seriously not believe how much technical debt there is. It's not just bad decisions that you're making every single day, but it's your architecture, it's your infrastructure, documentation, code.
So your web components, right? Unlike many JavaScript frameworks, Polymorphs embraces it and extends it. Check this out. It's both a polyfill to web components in the future, and it's also a framework that builds a Polymorphs.
Thank you for indulging us. In other words, we get to talk to people who want to talk to us. So thank you so much for being here, and please enjoy this conference.